Hey guys, so welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this show anywhere else but within our private community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, be sure to come join us. That group was put together specifically for coaches, consultants, and service providers who are serious about making a difference in the world and really building a successful, profitable business, especially online. Now, today, I want to introduce you to our guest, Carla. Hey, Carla, welcome.
Hi, it's a pleasure.
Yes, same here. So in essence, so tell us a bit about what you do with your coaching consultant business.
I have trained as a somatic experiencing practitioner, which involves a lot of body work as we're in the middle of a pandemic where body work is not the norm. I've decided to expand because I have this great passion not only for the nervous system regulation and how to find peace in our bodies, but also how we relate to one another. Mm-hmm. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to expand into sex and intimacy coaching. I'm beginning a master's degree in sexology, and I'm really passionate about deepening intimacy and being grounded in the kinds of connections that we make within ourselves so that we can be more authentic and open with others.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So since I saw this show like maybe about 2 weeks ago, and I think I've met so many interesting coaches, consultants in terms of what they do, who they help, and there's several different types of niches as well too. And yours is definitely a unique one as well, because you are the first one on the show who specializes in what you specialize in, right? Awesome. Yeah. So tell us, how did you get started? What got you interested in this type of coaching?
I have always been interested in aspects related to intimacy and connection. I think I had the Kama Sutra well before I was 18. It's always been interesting to me, the potency of the body when it is in full expression. So as a movement therapist and dancer and dance teacher, I'm always looking at connections. How are ways that we can move with each other to share a message, to have a dialogue, to share feelings with one another. And sometimes you don't necessarily need to touch. Sometimes it's a matter of expression through different ways of moving the body. And so it felt like a natural expression as I began expanding my classes, because it initially started as a mixture of therapeutic work with movement therapy. I began exploring things from a drama theater perspective, and learning how to play games, and playing games in small groups and pairs, playing with aspects of yourself. And so I started developing different exercises that speak to connection, and it just felt like a very natural expansion from somatic experiencing work to go into, well, what happens when we are integrated and whole in our bodies, and we want to begin sharing that journey with another. How do we communicate in an authentic way?
Mm-hmm. So yeah. What is the somatic? How do you define somatic experience or expression?
Somatic experiencing is a style of therapy developed by Peter Levine that focuses on rewiring one's response to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode in our body. So that's the part, the animal part of our bodies that goes into panic when there is some kind of stress occurring in the environment. It was fascinating to me because there are so many therapies dedicated to the cognitive mind, adapting behavior, changing your thoughts, like as if this was the totality of the human experience. But there's a much older brain in that we are guided by, and whether we want to admit it or not, evolutionary psychology has spoken to a lot of these backdoor ways of relating that are still very much embedded in how we respond. And so somatic experiencing is a way to it's a set of techniques to stay more connected to your body, to slowly increase in small increments levels of stress and trauma, and then allow for a release response that then provides a kind of completion around a trauma. So, for example, there was a situation with a demo where someone had had a car accident and they weren't sure if their legs, they could not feel their legs. And so during a session, they started to twitch their toes. And it was emblematic of going back into that body response memory of the car accident where they weren't sure, and there was a panic that was set about whether they had lost sensation in their legs. So it can be a very visceral, very embodied kind of therapy, and it's a beautiful thing to witness and participate and serve people in this way, to watch people be more connected to themselves. And it's a great passion to expand that into, well, how do we take this embodied living and share it with people we care about? Or how do we do so in a healthy way so that when we come across people that we could really care about, we don't behave from a self-sabotaging or from this fear-based response that many people have. It doesn't need to be a big trauma that happens like a car accident. It could be something as small as, you were 5 years old and you were at the beach and your older sibling left you. And then there was this existentialist loss of, there's nobody around, nobody's going to come get me. And that might have been a response that stayed in your body. And so maybe later as an adult, one is dating and they're having an insecure attachment response. And so these things are connected. Somatic therapy works with reconnecting these disconnected parts of ourselves so that we're responding from a whole and integral place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how different is it from, because I've interviewed quite a few different individuals on the show, and I see, I get to hear a lot of different perspectives. So in essence, with what you do, and what about the spirit? Is there a spiritual side of because I know a lot of individuals, there's a meditation side of this stuff as well too. Is somatic, is it in the meditation realm as well too, or what's it like? What's the
It does not need to be in it does not have to have a spiritual realm. It does not have to have a meditation aspect. It can, and what is more so is that there are exercises regarding visualization, where you visualize and practice fully sensing aspects of a situation that were not felt at a particular moment in time. So it's like you're conjuring up a memory, or you're remembering the body sensations of a particular memory. They can be done through visualizations, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a meditation in the spiritual sense. No.
Mm-hmm. So something you mentioned, you started hinting on is, you said, where it was like, it sounded like there's, because I think, and hopefully correct me if I'm wrong, but with the brain, there's different parts of the brain, right? Excuse me. There's different parts of the brain where there's the lizard brain, I think they call it, and
Exactly.
I don't know what the terms. What are the three? There's three parts, right?
Yes, there's the prefrontal cortex. This is the logical reasoning. Then there's the limbic system, which is about emotion regulation. And then there's this reptilian part of the brain, the brainstem. And yes, that is exactly the part I'm talking about. So this part of the brain is our most ancient part of the brain. It is the part of the brain that gets accessed when there is a sense of emergency. And so what happens in our everyday society, in our modern capitalist society, where we're always on the go, it's like we're constantly in a stress-induced state. where the
Right.
body doesn't have a homeostasis in which to go back to. So, we're constantly on alert, and then we don't know how to relax. So
Hmm.
somatic experiencing, and any kind of somatic therapy can work really to reconnect a person to what their body is saying to them, to, not something ephemeral like follow your intuition, is something practical like, my stomach is grumbling, oh, that means I haven't eaten. Or I meet someone and I get an icky feeling in my skin. Like, there are things that our body tells us,
Hmm.
that is connected to survival, that is a message system that was passed down from the brainstem. So to get a clearer picture, our gut is actually pretty potent as far as being a messenger system. We give so much credence to the brain, to the prefrontal cortex, but the gut actually sends about, so as far as messaging between the nervous system and the body, it's actually the gut that sends the majority of the messages to the brain, and then it then gets interpreted to the brain after having initially passed through the gut. So if a person goes through situations where they're living in a highly stressed way, it's almost like they're out of sync with their body. And one of the things I love about somatic experiencing is this practice of being more connected, so that there is this homeostasis, and especially to bring it to couples work and relationship work, to have fights and conflicts in a way that is responsible and to one another. Somatic work can be extremely potent, not just with your solo individual work, but also with couples related work, where there could be this goal of maintaining a homeostasis and a stability of connection
Hmm.
between two people. Yeah.
What's the word homeostasis? What does that mean?
Ah, well, there's like a scientific aspect to it, but in the somatic experiencing aspect, it is, think of it, I kind of wish I had a blackboard behind me right now, or I would draw, kind of think of it as like a heart monitor. And so
Hmm.
when a person is extremely stressed, they go spiky up and down, like in very extreme ways. And a homeostasis is kind of like a steady wave,
Hmm.
that you are able to respond from a place of neither too overwhelmed nor too stimulated, that the body can regulate between levels of stress to go back to a baseline regulation, so that you can go to bed at a reasonable time without having to take a sleeping pill, or without, you can wake up without having to have cups of coffee, because your body is
Hmm.
in tune and connected. I went on a 2-year backpacking trip that ultimately led me to move to Spain, and I equate it with this entire learning process, because through traveling to multiple different countries, it was a practice in somatic experiencing, essentially. Balancing my body between the stimulus I was receiving from the outside and what I was feeling on the inside. It was a beautiful practice. One of the materials on my website is actually this. I have uploaded a bit of that journey in a video form. And if anyone is interested in learning more about how I came through this process of developing a long practice with it myself, and training in it, and kind of the wild travel adventures that led me to believe in this type of therapy so profoundly, feel free to go to my website. Once you sign up, there will be a direct link to a video where, if people are curious about this transition of, well, I'm not familiar with how my body works. I don't know what it's feeling. I don't know what it means. I think this video that I had prepared, it will provide some insight about how to transition into a more somatic-based awareness. So I think it's a great resource
Yeah,
to put
awesome.
out there.
Yeah. Now you said you went backpacking for like 2 years. You just
Yeah,
did you? What
I
caused you
did.
to do that? What's your motivation?
Oh, well, I have a very complex relationship with the United States. It has been a beautiful place for me to explore and grow myself. But I found that um, I wanted to live a life that was more in alignment with this somatic regulation. In the States, so much about the kind of life you live is based on your social class, what neighborhood you live in. It's just a very segregated society. And so I knew from previous travel that other parts of the world had a more balanced approach about access and privilege and power. And I wanted to explore how different people cope and come to peace with different levels of access. It was a very important question for me. And I ran into, I interviewed so many amazing people, from hostel maids that didn't have one book in their house for their children, to people who were growing rice in China, and just wild, interesting, fascinating conversations about what's really important in life. And it led me to reevaluate how I live my life and how to integrate this kind of somatic practice in a more consistent way. And so when I began the 2-year trip, it was very purposeful. It was an evaluation of where can I see myself being the best version of me. And I found myself in Spain after that journey. I am really lucky to have found my PhD program and my sexology program, and I feel really blessed with the opportunities that have come with a life in Spain. It's very funny because I walked down the street. I initially got here walking with a New York pace, and these older ladies are looking at me like, "Child, why are you walking so fast?" And I really needed that check-in, that visual check-in. Like, nobody else is walking this fast. Nobody else is rushing this much. Why am I rushing this much? And in this particular, like, I had lived such a fast-paced life in the States where it was about money and security and work, so much work, and I think that there's value in all of that. We cannot survive without money and stability, but I think there are ways to balance it out. Here in Spain, you cannot pay people triple overtime to work on a Sunday. You cannot. That is family day, and I appreciate that about the culture. There are other aspects that I find infuriatingly frustrating, such as the machismo that can come, especially in southern Spain. But you just have to learn to laugh at it, because it's just the benefits far outweigh, the annoyances, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. Now, what about in terms of a story? Are there any personal stories you could share with us that's kind of got you from this level of success you've created for yourself in your life and your business and stuff? Was there a story that was pivotal on your journey to getting you to where you are today?
Yeah, that is also on the video. So when people sign up, they'll receive the video. A story. Let me say a new story. I would say, a new story. I would say learning how to connect to my authentic power, like there was a bureaucratic situation whereby I needed the help, and it was like 30 days to have this application reviewed. And I wanted to go in with an offering. I knew that the bureaucratic situation as it would be very delayed. So I decided to and I looked at the front office, and I had realized that they had closed the windows, whereas before the workers in the building had open windows and they could see sunlight. Now they could not. So having recognized that, I'm like, if I were a secretary in this building, I would be very sad. So I decided to make a collage. I don't know why I made 3 collages, but I decided to make a collage. One was like a forest green theme. The other was like a nature sun orange theme, and the other was a blue ocean theme. And I went and I just started speaking with the secretary, like, I know that this request is going to take 30 business days. I decided to make you something because I saw you have no more open window. And it was so interesting. So because I did that, because I had this offering, she called her sister, who actually was the bureaucrat that I needed to get the paperwork resolved. And so when I offered one of the remaining 2 collages, the woman, the sister, decided to look for the information right away. So I didn't need to wait the 30 days. And then I had a prior relationship with this bureaucracy office with one of the secretaries. And so she got the 3rd one. And so initially, while it was meant to be a gift for this secretary that I knew, I ended up making new connections with these 2 other people who ended up helping me. And so I think one of the ways that we can approach the world is through this lens of, what are my offerings? Like, what can I give to the situation? And the secretary that I knew her from a couple years prior, where I was needing a favor, but I didn't know who to ask. I was very green. I had just arrived in Spain. I didn't know how much red tape there would be about everything. And all I knew was that there was a 3-week wait to speak to the leader of something, and the secretary's name was the name of a famous Brazilian song. So I decided to download that song onto my phone. I went to the office, and I decided to say, hey, like, I know that the leader in charge is not available right now, but I just wanted to show you a bit of my culture. So I put the song, and I said, hey, if anyone ever starts to dance samba, because you say your name, it's because your name is famous in Brazil. So I put the song on, and I start dancing samba in this government office.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, she was so happy, that it was like this excitement in the day, because it's this boring government office. And so she called the next person in charge that was available in the office that day, and I got my issue resolved. So I would just urge people to go in with situations with an openness and creativity about what we can offer to a situation, because at the end of the day, profit aside, we're all humans, and we're all desiring connection, authentic connection. And so that is one of my travel stories. And
That was awesome. That was so powerful. Because definitely that's one thing I realized is that if you learn how to just deal with people, realize that we're all human beings and we all have the same emotions, we all go through the same processes, and know that all it takes to get what we want, or to be able to progress, it's really in learning how to deal with other people and how to basically manage relationships, and really come from a place of genuinely caring, not from a place of just wanting to get something from someone, but actually genuinely caring for them. I think that could take us so far in just not just life, but in business as well too. So the next question becomes, what about skills wise, right? So are there any skills that you've kind of mastered over your life that you believe has gotten you to where you are today?
Yeah. So I think I have pretty mastered the skill of openness. There were lots of things I had to release in order to be open to an entirely different life. So one of the things about my life is that I've had a lot of strife and trauma myself that I've had to overcome. And it could have been pretty easy to stay in that pain, to stay in that resentment. You know, why was I given this? Why did this happen to me? But with each situation, I took it as an opportunity to really grow into a new layer of skin. We as human beings, you know, we have new cells. Like the oldest cells, I think, are in the eyes, but every 7 years, like all of our cells regenerate. So why is it that we hold on to negative things? What is it in our programming inside our cellular structure that says, keep this bad memory, function from that bad memory? You know, so I would say that there's not just a moment to moment, not just daily practice of being very mindful about what kinds of thoughts, what kinds of, what am I doing for myself to nurture a new way of being. And I think that's what, that's really the strength of what I offer. I'm not just, you know, reading academic articles and spewing out ideas. Like I have actually lived these ideas and have overcome many different difficult situations. And that, I would say, is my greatest skill set. I'll never forget, you know, when I was on food stamps and I actually had to have conversations with friends like, I cannot go to the restaurant with you. Can we go to the grocery store and eat at a park? Because I can only use my food stamps card. And, you know, it was very vulnerable, you know, but it felt true, you know, to the situation I was at. And I wasn't going to try to be someone that I wasn't. And so the friendships that have lasted as a result of that kind of courage and bravery to stay true to myself, those are the friendships that are going to stay with me forever, you know. And now that I'm on a completely different page where, you know, I have my own home and I have a degree of stability that I had not known for much of my life, what stays with me is this social responsibility of, you know, it doesn't have to be so hard. And it's kind of, I want to say this over and over, to all people of color, especially, you know, like it doesn't have to be so hard. And, you know, my heart goes out to all groups of people that have found different, creative ways to overcome struggles. But it's really part of my social mission at this point. Like I have been able to have this practice and establish this life. And I really want to share, this kind of healing power that can come from being in your body, to be fully alive in it, because it speaks to you. It really does. And so oftentimes we're not in our power because it's so scary to be in our body where we have betrayed ourselves, and that's what it's telling us, you know.
Right.
So I would say, yeah, being in one's body really provides a way to go from the inside out. And now I'm at this point where I'm really passionate about connecting communities, connecting people to themselves, and just overall being a beacon of light for people who have had similar struggles and who understand. Who understand the struggle. Yeah.
Love it. And final question, what about habits wise? What's one habit you'd say you've developed that's got you to where you are today?
Movement. It's been very important for me to literally move the energy that I have, that I feel in my body, to move it through dance, to move it through cycling, to any kind of physical activity, to move it, literally move it out of you.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very powerful exercise to have a daily practice with movement, and what kinds of movements feel natural, whether over time your range of movements change. These are all symbolic of different openings and restructurings of things on the inside. So having a practice with movement has been pivotal in feeling safe to feel the emotions, because I can move the energy out. Yeah.
Right. Love it, Carla. Well, hey, we're out of time here today, but it was definitely a pleasure having you on there. Now, if someone wanted to find out more about you and what you do, what's the best way to reach out?
The best way is through my website. I'm connected to Calendly. I offer free 30-minute initial sessions. You can book through there. The website is Carla Carrera, CarlaCarreira.com.
Awesome. Love it, guys. So if you're watching this on the live or the replay, guys, I'll have Carla's links right below. So you should be able to click right there and it'll take you directly to connect with her. Well, hey, Carla, thank you so much. I know you're pretty busy. You got a lot going on, but thank you so much for making the time out of your day to be here with us today. Do you have any final thoughts before we end?
Just gratitude for this opportunity to share, and an excitement for the people that want to reach out. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Love it. Well, again, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you.